provided by Thomas Allgeier and Frennis, based on the most relevant posts on LinkedIn about social selling from calendar weeks 33 and 34. Frennis is a B2B market research company working with enterprises to optimize their campaigns with account and executive insights far beyond AI. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're really digging into the latest social selling trends popping up all over LinkedIn. We're talking practical, usable strategies for B2B marketing and sales pros, basically straight from the horse's mouth, what's actually working now.
Yeah, and this is exciting because it's not just theory, right? We've boiled down these insights to give you a kind of shortcut. You get to see what's genuinely moving the needle in social selling. We'll look at what's clicking, why, and how you can actually use these ideas for your own B2B marketing on LinkedIn. It's really about getting smart quickly and knowing where to put your energy.
All right, let's unpack this first big theme then. We're definitely seeing a pretty fundamental shift in how B2B pros are thinking about social selling strategy. So what's really at the heart of this change? What does it look like on the ground?
Well, the core insight, and folks like Tom Baton and Joanna Guerrero highlighted this really well, is this massive move away from just, pushing products hard. Social selling now. It's fundamentally about building real, actual relationships over the long haul. It's a slow build, like they said, not some quick pitch. It really emphasizes being authentic and providing value, not just flooding inboxes. You want to be seen as a trusted advisor.
That makes so much sense. It really is less about that hard sell and way more about becoming that go-to trusted resource. And Melissa kind of builds on that, talking about seeing social selling as this whole cohesive system, not just like random posts here and there. What does that mean, though, building it as a system?
Exactly. A system means every single touch point, every piece of content, every interaction, it all serves a bigger strategic purpose. It's about being deliberate. And Sharon Shapiro takes that idea even further. She explains that the ultimate goal isn't actually closing the sale on social media. It's about earning the right, to take that conversation offline. Social selling gives your traditional sales a massive boost. It doesn't replace them, which means, as Paul P.J. Jackson points out, your content has got to lead with credibility and context. Otherwise, you just get frustration and cynicism if you jump straight to pitching. Build the system, build the trust.
Right. That really hammers home the idea of building that foundation first. Trust and credibility. Like Ivan Grinovich, he apparently refused all cold outbound for his agency. Preferred warm outreach, social selling, networking. But okay, what about people who don't have much social proof yet? Maybe smaller companies, new founders. How do they even start building that foundation?
Yeah, good question. If you're starting out with thin social proof, the advice is pretty clear. Just defer those broad cold programs for now. Instead, you really want to focus on warm plays, things that genuinely showcase your expertise. This means using your content almost like a market entry motion, telling stories about problems you've solved, the results you got for people like them. Arpit Singh actually argues that it's often a lack of a system, not a lack of content ideas, that holds founders back on LinkedIn. You need a structured way to capture your experiences and insights and turn them into valuable content consistently. Show, don't just tell.
That's a really strong point about the system. Okay, so here's where it gets interesting, I think. If everyone's trying to be authentic and build relationships, how do you make your personal brand actually stand out from the crowd?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And Marco Frenz has a great insight here. Being genuinely personal on LinkedIn is what attracts like-minded people. People connect with you, the person behind the professional mask.
Yeah.
They don't just want a polished expert. They want the real human. So practically, that means sharing your unique viewpoint, maybe your struggles, what you're learning, your industry insights, but in a way that builds empathy. And Bianca Collett sees this transforming LinkedIn beyond just leads. She calls it a growth machine. Ick trap. It drives loyalty, helps monetize personal brands, gets you PR, helps with employer branding, all because you're building these deeper human connections. It's not just transactional.
And building that kind of authentic presence, that definitely takes time, doesn't it? Franz Wegner gives us that reality check. LinkedIn is not the place for quick business. A strong personal brand doesn't just pop up in 2 weeks. We've all seen those crazy promises, right? Grow your LinkedIn in 30 days. But these experts are saying, no, it's a marathon.
Absolutely. Wegner's point is so important against all that hype. Real brand building, the kind that lasts and brings in quality leads. It takes consistent, authentic effort over time. It's like gardening. You cultivate it. So, okay, connecting this to the bigger picture. All this effort, this slow build, the authentic branding, it needs to actually show results, right? Measurable ones. So what does this mean for measuring success beyond just likes and followers? How do we actually prove the ROI?
Daniel Disney had a really crucial point on this. He basically said the main metric for social selling has got to be total sales achieved from LinkedIn, directly traceable. He suggests setting up custom CRM-led sources, things like LinkedIn Inbound or LinkedIn DM, so you can track actual pipeline, new deals, and yet, most importantly, the revenue. It moves you away from vanity metrics towards real business impact. What's the biggest pitfall if you don't focus on revenue first?
Well, the biggest mistake is just wasting time and resources, right? If you're chasing things like your SSI score or how many followers you have as the main goal, you completely lose sight of the bottom line. And the best of LinkedIn summary we looked at confirms this. The really successful folks, they link all their social activity back to those CRM lead sources. They prove pipeline, they prove revenue. Things like SSI and follower counts become supporting metrics. Now, SSI isn't useless. Oksana Kairovich, Wikiat LAU, Felix Schmitz, they all see it reflecting how effectively you're using the platform. And yeah, higher scores often correlate with more opportunities, hitting quota more often, like 45% more opportunities, 51% more likely to hit quota, those kinds of numbers. But it's a diagnostic tool, helps you improve activity. It's not the end goal itself. The goal is the revenue.
And the data backing this up is pretty strong. Tor Abrams shared stats showing social selling just crushing cold calling and emailing for generating revenue in 2025. Social sellers hit quota way more often, 51% versus only 39% for traditional sellers. That's a massive difference. What's really driving that gap, do you think? Is it just social being better, or are traditional sellers maybe missing something?
It is a huge gap, yeah. And a big piece of it, as Tim Hughes points out, is smarter qualification. Deals that are properly qualified through social selling, they close way faster. We're talking 71 days versus 91 days on average. That has a direct impact on your forecasting accuracy, your revenue predictability. It's huge. Social sellers, because they've built that buyer-centric profile, they've established credibility, shared authentic content, there's essentially pre-qualifying prospects. They're engaging people already interested, weeding out bad fits earlier, building trust before a sales call even happens. Cold methods often skip that vital step.
Okay, so if we're building trust and qualifying better socially, how does that make our direct outreach like DMs more effective? A lot of people still find DMs feel kind of cold or pushy. How do you make them feel natural?
That's exactly where Joshua Hayes' advice fits in. He basically says your public content should do the heavy lifting of pre-qualifying and warming people up. So your DMs feel less like a cold interruption and more like a natural follow-up based on a shared interest you establish through your posts. You create that welcoming atmosphere publicly first. Then the DM isn't this jarring cold start. It's just the next logical step. We see much better response rates this way because you're starting from shared value. Less resistance.
Right. And we can't forget employee advocacy here. There's a clear link to revenue. Serge Boulev's data showed companies with actual formal programs are twice as likely to hit over 20% revenue growth. Advocates are directly bringing in new business. Getting your team involved pays off.
Definitely. It's a direct financial impact.
So with all these strategic shifts and the focus on tracking results, what does this mean for how we actually use LinkedIn itself? The features, the algorithm, what do we need to know?
Well, Noel Nissan makes a good point about LinkedIn Premium. He says it's valuable, but only if you use it strategically. It's not just about having the badge. It's about knowing which specific features help you generate those warm leads and stand out, like using the advanced search filters really effectively or checking who's viewed your profile to get context before reaching out. It needs intent behind it.
And for more advanced users, Darren McKee laid out a detailed strategy for landing enterprise meetings. It relies heavily on Sales Navigator. Things like team link mapping, seeing who in your own company already knows someone at the target account, and identifying all the key decision makers. The best of LinkedIn summary also really emphasized Sales Nav for getting into those bigger enterprise accounts.
And here's something really interesting on the algorithm side. From Stefan Wetzel, he highlighted that over 70% of people are scrolling LinkedIn on their phones now. And because of that, dwell time, how long someone pauses on your post, has become the single most important ranking factor, even more than likes or comments. So mobile optimization isn't just nice to have anymore. It's absolutely mandatory. Your content has to grab them quick and be easy to read on a small screen.
Wow, dwell time over direct engagement. That's a big shift. And Richard Vanderbloom adds another critical piece, your profile headline. If it doesn't show instant value, he says you basically lose the deal in under 5 seconds. Your profile is like your digital shop window now. He found an optimized profile drives 3x more leads via search and boosts high-quality inbound leads by almost 50%. It's not just a CV anymore.
No, it's a sales tool. And speaking of connecting, Robin Daniels shared his updated criteria for accepting connection requests. It reflects how people feel about all the bots and, as he calls them, pitch slappers. The people who hit you with a sales pitch the second you connect. He now looks for at least 30 common connections, or a really good intro message with maybe 15 common connections. It signals a shift towards more genuine networking.
Okay, thinking about all this emphasis on human connection, here's a bit of a curveball. What about AI? Anita Vazzelli raised some really interesting questions about AI avatars in B2B social selling. Apparently, in some live stream sales contexts, AI avatars are actually outperforming humans, which makes you wonder, how will audiences react long-term if the employee sharing insights isn't actually real? Where do we draw the line between efficiency and authenticity? It's a tricky one.
It really is. And that brings us neatly to content itself, with so much noise out there. And knowing the algorithm favors mobile and dwell time, how do we actually create posts that cut through, that really resonate?
Well, Max Wu shared a blueprint, referencing Eric Lay's success. It's about being strategic. First, hunt down viral content in your specific niche. Then, don't just copy it, reverse engineer it. Understand the patterns, the psychology, why it worked. Then, post consistently and make sure you're engaging back. And if you're stuck for ideas, Dennis Jedlicka has a practical tip. Use customer problems. Apply that classic PAS framework. Problem, agitate, solution. So you start with the problem, are your leads going cold? Then agitate, it's costing you deals and burning out your team. Then the solution, imagine a system that nurtures leads automatically. It makes it tangible.
Yeah, the PAS framework is gold. And tying back to the platform mechanics, Stefan Wetzel's points on mobile and dwell time are key here too. The Best of LinkedIn summary noted that longer text posts, maybe 1,200 to 1,400 characters in native video, can get really strong engagement. But they have to be tight, executed well, easy to grasp quickly on that small mobile screen. Hook them fast, keep them reading or watching.
And for getting comments, which we know boosts reach, Annabelle Pickens had great advice. She said, your post needs to make people think one of 5 things. Things like, I never thought of that. Or, yeah, I can do that. I totally believe that too. Okay, I need to change. Or just, wow, I can relate. If it doesn't spark one of those reactions, it's probably forgettable. And forgettable posts don't get comments. Simple as that. It needs to make them feel something or think something new.
Absolutely. Sparking that reaction is key. And this loops back perfectly to what Nils Grammerstorff said about consistency, building a big, engaged following. It means showing up even when you don't feel inspired. He had the great line, in the rain, the characters formed. It's about having a system, having discipline, not just waiting for inspiration to strike, which, again, echoes Arpit Singh's point about the system being crucial for success. You got to show up.
Okay, let's unpack this next big theme, employee advocacy. So many companies have this untapped marketing channel just sitting there, their own people. How do we actually leverage that effectively? How do we get employees involved without it feeling, forced or fake?
Well, Scott Bowling really nailed it. Employees have something brands just can't buy: genuine trust. Messages from passionate employees. They're just way more credible. They get much more engagement than polished corporate posts. But as Daniel Litwin, Shaylee Johari, Neil Molifigatla, Anna Bertoldini, they all stress this, it absolutely flops if it's forced. It has to be authentic. You need to empower employees to find their own voice, share their own unique take, not just parrot corporate lines. Forced advocacy is transparently fake.
Right. And the Best of LinkedIn summary actually mentions something really practical on this. Simple things like team competitions or public scoreboards can seriously lift internal posting rates and brand reach. Courtney Huggins-Rives shared an example where competition and public recognition, literally a bar graph with top contributors' faces on it, worked wonders for getting people involved. Sometimes that friendly rivalry helps.
Totally. And for practical steps to make it work, Anna Bertoldini advises giving employees content that sparks ideas, not just pre-written posts they copy and paste. Encourage their unique spin. Marcus Body agrees. Give guidance on topics, sure, but let employees say it in their own words so they sound like actual humans. Caitlin Ryan shared her launch strategy too. Focus on support, building confidence, making it clear. Often starting small with a pilot group and simple steps helps people get comfortable. Make it easy.
And if you need to get budget for this, Ali Grenier laid out a smart blueprint. Benchmark against your competitors, figure out where your gaps are, choose how you'll activate employees, and crucially, tie the budget request directly to business results. Show the ROI.
Because the impact is definitely there. Serge Balaya's data again. Employee content gets 8 times more engagement than brand posts and leads to real revenue growth. Richard Bliss even argued that companies like law firms should prioritize their own employees' advocacy over paying external influencers. Why? Because employees deliver better reach and more authenticity. It's powerful.
Okay, this is fascinating. If authenticity is so key, how does that play out in practice? Bradley Keenan studied 500,000 LinkedIn posts. He found that even small edits employees make to suggested captions like keeping it 60–85% similar, not an exact copy, deliver 3 times better results. And Kelly Estrada found personalized posts get 9 times more engagement. It really shows the power of letting people make it their own.
It absolutely underlines it. Employee advocacy truly works best when people feel confident sharing in their own words. It's not like Stu Hazel put it so well. You can't get more authentic than someone talking about their job. Empower those real voices. That's what connects and converts.
So in a world that's increasingly driven by AI, constantly changing algorithms, we've heard this consistent theme today, that human connection, that authenticity, it's still absolutely vital for social selling success. But as you navigate all this, trying to cut through the noise, trying to genuinely connect and convert for your B2B audience, what systems are you actually putting in place? How are you ensuring your authentic voice not only gets heard, but consistently delivers those measurable results? Something to think about. If you enjoyed this deep dive, new episodes drop every 2 weeks. Also check out our other editions on account-based marketing, field marketing, channel marketing, MarTech, go-to-market, and AI in B2B marketing. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss our next one.